All right, our last type of problem is complex fractions. So these are fractions within fractions. So it looks more complicated than it has to be. We run across these a lot in trigonometry just as we're simplifying stuff. So we will use this technique quite a bit when we're simplifying stuff next year if you take college algebra and trig. But what we can do with this is notice in number 5, I've got that 1 over x in the numerator and the x over y in the denominator. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of that fraction in the fraction. So in order to get rid of this x, that's in the denominator there, I can multiply by x, and then when I distribute that, those are going to cancel out. But if I multiply by the x on top, I also have to do it on the bottom. Okay, that's the way fractions work. Now the bottom fraction, notice it has a y on the bottom. You've got the x over y. So I'd also like to multiply by y, because then when I distribute that, that'll get rid of the fraction on the bottom. So if I do the y on the bottom, I also have to do it on the top. Another way you can think about this is you look at your two denominators, x and y. Well, what would be a common denominator between those? Well, the common denominator is xy. So if we multiply top and bottom by that common denominator, by this xy, things will cancel out. I'll show you what I mean by that. Let's get rid of that yellow. Okay, so first I'm going to distribute xy here. So that's going to be xy times 1, which is just xy. And then when I distribute the xy here, the x's will cancel because one's on top and one's on bottom. So we get just y. I'm going to do the same thing in the denominator. I'm going to distribute the xy times 1, which of course is just xy. And then I'm going to distribute here. This y and this y will cancel. And we are minus x times x, which is x squared. Okay, that is the key step on this. Now, we want to finish factoring to see if anything else will cancel out of this. So in the numerator, these both have a y. So we'll take out a y, which leaves us with x plus 1. And in the denominator, they both have an x, so we can factor out an x, which leaves us with y minus x. And nothing factors out of that, nothing cancels, so that's as good as it gets. Let's take a look at number 6. All right, so again, we've got fractions within fractions. So in order to get rid of this d that's on the bottom there, I want to multiply by d. Now I've also got a c in the denominator, so I want to multiply by both d and c, because then that'll cancel it out of both of them. If I do that on top, I have to do that on the bottom as well. So let's see what happens here. When I take the dc and distribute that over, the d's are going to cancel. Now, that means I have just c times c, which is c squared. I'm going to write out an additional step just so you can see this. But what's happening here is I have dc times c over d. Okay? Right now I am only working in the numerator, and I'm just showing you an additional step in case you can't see this. Here I have d times dc over c. So this might illustrate it a little bit better, that the d's cancel here and the c's cancel here. So again, I'm only working in the numerator right now. That leaves me with c squared minus d squared. Okay, I'm going to now distribute here. Hopefully you can see it here that the c's are going to cancel. In case you can't, what I'm actually doing is I'm taking d times dc over c. And then I'm going to distribute here. That's just 2dc. Okay, and like I said before, those c's are going to cancel, which leaves us with d squared plus 2d. 2dc. My goodness. Okay. I do want to go on and factor this, just in case anything will cancel. So hopefully you can see the numerator, that's the difference of squares. So c plus d, c minus d. And in the bottom, I can factor out a d, which leaves me with 2 plus 2c. Nothing's going to cancel out of that, so that is your final answer.